All right, on the show today, we're very pleased to welcome SABC digital producer, Mr. Dinilohlanga. Dini, a very good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us.
It's a pleasure.
All right, thank you so much for joining us. We do have on the main desk political analyst Nompumelelo Runje and media analyst Tebogo Ditsejo. Ladies and gentlemen, a very good morning to both of you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Morning, and thank you for having us.
All right, Mr. Mekuto, let's go ahead with the biggest hashtag of this week. What was it? What was the biggest hashtag? Go ahead.
The biggest this week was a story that broke out on Friday, hashtag Youth Day, commemorating 41 years of the Soweto uprising. People were just sharing positive messages on Youth Day in memory of those that died a while back. You know, one of the tweets that came up was from Saftu in the Northwest. I don't know if we have it up. Northwest is the richest province, but the youth from that province are unemployed. Saftu is saying, let us regulate the mines. And then this one from Samuel Jacob says, we don't have to take to the streets to be like the youths of 76. We've got to simply stand for what we believe in together. So unity coming very strongly here. Another one from Sizwe of Bulawayo.
Says, thank you, 1976 youth, but in real life you disrespect their classmates, your parents. Very interesting, very interesting. And Nompumelelo, what did you make of the social media side of how June 16 was commemorated, particularly this year?
It looked to be quite positive, obviously always remembering the 1976 youth and what they stood for. And but obviously there's a contrast between that youth and the youth today and the experiences of the youth today. And it seems that the same struggles that the youth of 76 were facing are still the challenges that young people today are facing. So we see a lot of that, you know, sort of contrasting of the two generations.
Well, I think it was a very robust June 16. We saw a difference in previous celebrations where a lot of young people would go out and do very responsible things. With the advent of social media, we saw a lot of discussion taking place in terms of where our country is. And I think that we should look at what the generation of June 16 did. They took the struggle by the horn, and they said that we want political freedom, be free from segregation, but now we need to now define our new struggle, which is obviously to transform the economy of this country.
And those are some of the challenges in particular that you know, youth should be talking about.
What Tebogo is saying, I did an interview with a couple of students, first-year students in a tertiary. One of the problems that they seem to be picking up is the inequality in the education system.
Absolutely, yeah, that's always one of the biggest issues. Let's look at the next big hashtag.
On Thursday,
am I seeing taxis here?
Hashtag taxi strike full of quantums from Toyota. That was the issue. Onotex are just complaining about the high price they have to pay for these vehicles.
Really?
And it also involves the interest that they pay. Interestingly enough, we are told that these guys pay about an installment of about 14,000, 15,000 rands over 72 months. If you put that together, that comes to over 1.08 million. It's a lot of money. This is what people had to say, though, concerned about their bosses at work, right? My boss uses a bike to work, so he mustn't dare ask me why I'm late. Hashtag taxi strike.
Let's look at more tweets coming in for the taxi strike there. Only stupid managers will fire their employees because of today's hashtag taxi strike. That is from D. King. Let's have a look at more tweets if we do have. Dino, what are people saying?
From Riabitswe. I see most commuters are worried more about their bosses and making it to the office on time, I guess. What about your own safety, people? Hashtag taxi strike.
Debo, what did you make of this?
Well, I think we should be very proud of the taxi industry specifically because it's one of the few that is owned by black people in this country. However, we need to look at the funding model of the taxi industry. We need more innovation. We need to see how is it that we could pool our resources together, you know, to ensure that the taxi drivers themselves, not just the owners, have a stake, you know, in the money that is being made. And we saw a big tour of ideas yesterday where Sizwe Dlomo and Vusi Tembegwa were fighting over who came up with the idea that they must pool resources together, which is great. I think it's very important for us to come up with new strategies, you know, in order to have an economic model, you know, that will be beneficial to the taxi industry.
I hear you, Tebogo, but I mean, it's always the taxi people that are always opposed to any form of regulation by government of the taxi industry. So then how do we go forward giving them solutions for them? Nompumelelo?
Well, I think it's important that this debate continues because this is a privately owned sector providing a public service.
Absolutely.
So that has huge implications for commuters, and we could see the reason why the strike was so impactful is the fact that that's the point that the taxi industry is trying to make, is that we make this economy run. We carry the working class of the society. So it is about time that we start speaking not only about regulation of the taxi industry, which is very important, but we need to speak about how does government begin to get involved in terms of the funding models, because this is a public service. But again, if they want to be funded by the state, then they must be willing to subject themselves to regulation by the state as well.
That's another question.
That's a catch-22. So you know, it has to continue until we get to a point where we can actually find a solution, a workable solution, to continue the empowerment of black people, given that, like what Tebogo said, this is a black-owned industry, but at the same time to ensure a safe and efficient public transport for the working class in the society.
I'll look at it from your view. Yeah. It's fine. Let's wrap it up, Dini.
Just on what Tebogo touched on. Hashtag Vusi, hashtag Sizwe. This tiff of theirs on social media. But someone said this was a battle of ideas.
What is
between
this
the
about?
two guys, right? Because Sizwe tweeted something about the stats regarding the taxi strike. And then Vusi, after Sizwe had done that, went on Facebook. But someone said these guys are talking about the battle of ideas, but there's nothing new in what these guys are saying. Someone has said it before, so Sizwe can't lay claim to this as much as Vusi gave incorrect stats on the number of taxis that have been sold. Before I forget, there's a milestone that SABC Digital News reached.
Can we talk about that?
This month, we reached over 100 million views on our YouTube channel, SABC Digital News on YouTube. So if you want to find out more about these stories and see this program after we have done it, for the recorded version of it, you can go to SABC Digital News on YouTube.
All right. Give us that URL once again, Dini.
And then the URL for our online news, sabc.co.za/news.
All right. Well, that's where we leave it with the digital segment. Thank you so much, Dini, for joining us and bringing us some energetic feeds this morning.